Hey there. Welcome, Perennial Pride listeners, to the podcast. I'm really excited today. I have a special guest with me, a friend, someone I've known for a number of years, and I know you're going to get some tremendous nuggets from his story, his insights, and his experience. So we have Michael Glatts, who's the founder of 901 Innovation. He'll share more about that with you guys. But his story is really unique from having a corporate life for quite some time, which I know a lot of listeners are probably in that in some shape or form, a job. And he discovered a unique passion and found how he could deliver that and provide value to business owners and other people in this world. And so I wanted to bring him on to have him share some of his experiences, because I hear this often. I talk to a lot of people who are maybe in jobs that they do like some, but often I hear people that or maybe that's the passion for that has gone away, or they have other things they want to pursue and maybe not sure how. So hopefully Michael can help us sort of shine some light on how he did it and how it may help you on your journey. So Michael, welcome to the Perennial Pride podcast. Really excited.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate being here.
It's awesome. So Michael, obviously we've known each other for quite some time. We've worked on things together and seen a lot. And can you just share a little bit about your background and how it got to where you are today in your job and your business?
Sure. So I guess in the business world, the quick background is I spent 26 years with Pfizer. Pharmaceuticals. Started in customer service back in Exton, Pennsylvania, and evolved into sales and various levels of sales, and then into operations. Ended a long storied career in a global operations team. Big organization, lots of resources. I learned a ton. I never did. But it was corporate. And it was always corporate. It was always bureaucratic. There was always that element of, what's best you're going to get. Even if you aspire to be the CEO, how glorious is that? For some, maybe it is. I've known several CEOs at Pfizer, and they were good guys. But, never really was that exciting. I'm not saying I was going to be CEO. I definitely was not. It's just you have to at some point say, okay, where are we? So because of my tenure at Pfizer, I was approaching the first of many milestones, basically granted me the freedom that I had earned in life. And as I was approaching that first one, I was wondering, is this it? Is this what I want to be doing? And the answer was no. I wanted to do more, but not within the construct of a bureaucratic corporate system. I wanted to go, quite frankly, go out and have some fun. And it was a very stressful decision, one that I discussed and ruminated quite a bit with my family. And then one day I narrowed it down to two paths, or one question. What was I more afraid of? Fear of failure or fear of regret? Once I narrowed it down to that question, it's done. The thought of regretting never trying something would have been far worse. And I didn't want to be one of those guys where, people showed up at the Pfizer funeral, because that's where I ended my career and my life. All my loved ones sat in the first few pews, and all my colleagues were at the back of the church. I didn't want that. I thought, I want to go out. I want to go try this. So I decided to start 901 Innovation. Now, as a nod to Pfizer, much of what I apply at 901 is strategic thinking, problem solving, and innovative methodologies that I was exposed to and then sharpen my skills while. But I also weave in improvisation. And that goes squarely to my family, because I was born and raised to the kitchen table as the youngest of six. So I've been doing improvisation my entire life. And I bring those two together and really just try to, help people that are on this journey in life, looking to have more fun, do cool things. and appreciate that innovation is a good tool that can help you on that journey.
Yeah, and I think innovation is one of those buzzwords these days, and you see a lot of frequently associated with technology, but innovation is everywhere, right? In our daily lives, how we live, the type of food we eat, and obviously the cars we drive. It's just kind of everywhere, and so with that, like, how did you figure that out? Like, I mean, it sounds like over the course of your life, you just were drawn to the creative end of things and improv. Like, what was that like to kind of really embrace that? I mean, is that and how you switched gears leaving Pfizer?
Well, common denominator is what my core skill set is. And by nature, I just love to solve problems. And I think I do a pretty good job at it. So if I reflect back on my career, never did I ever go out and say, I'm with pharma, because I could have been with any organization. I was in sales and I was in operations. I wasn't a researcher that bring really cool new scientific discoveries to the world. And so I never felt like pharma was who I was. I felt really kind of problem solving and strategizing was more of who I was. And I would always immerse in those tools. Several years ago, I got introduced to design thinking, and it kind of put terminology around a lot of the approaches I had taken through my career and with the teams that I'd worked on and teams that I'd led. And it was basically a cool methodology to solve problems. Like, wow. And it's been around for decades. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of organizations that do a wonderful job of embracing it. And there's a lot of companies out there that have really good consultants that help promote it. So I got into design thinking and I started applying it with juicy challenges within my career at Pfizer. But then I realized, you can also apply this to life. So I started applying it to the juicy challenges within my life. What I want to do and what do I want to do? And I started to also realize at the same time that a lot of the core tenets were closely linked to improvisation, which is the mindset that you need to improvise and the mindset you need to solve problems and the mindset you need to be a design thinker. So it all came together and it's still evolving.
Yeah, no. Well, that's it. I tell my kids all the time is they're obviously younger kids now, not even in college yet, right? This journey is hopefully a long one. It's kind of constantly evolve, but it's just really cool to hear as you kind of recognize what it is you're passionate about and what makes you tick, and how do you create something that you can own and control yourself around your business, right? And bring that to light to people. That's the thing that always struck me as inspirational. And, now you get to control what that looks like. And I always talk about that with people all the time. How do you find that? And sometimes it finds you.
You just hit the nail on the head. It really is all about that, looking for what you can control in your life. I'm not looking to control other lives. I'm just looking to control what I can in my life. And what always bugs me in the corporate world is that didn't exist. Now, I work with a lot of people who will stay as long as they can, but where their balance comes is they have built a really good life outside of the organization, and they realize that the work they're doing helps give them the financial security and the things they need to do that as well. So that's another great approach. That wasn't for me at the end. But as I say that, it was for me for 26 years because I was enabled to raise my children, take care of my family, put my kids through school. I value education, especially lower education. So I wanted to make sure my kids were set up. And that was part of the trade-off. And I stuck it out. And I always thought I gave my best and worked with some really good people. So my journey is one where I was able to make the jump later in life because I built a launch pad in which to
And to your point, it's what is certainly the common sort of philosophy and training that happens today. And it works, right? It can work. And if you can find some meaningful work, that's great and enjoy. And there are people who do like their jobs, but I don't think the vast majority maybe tolerate it, right? And to your point, it's a means to the end, right? You're doing the great things for your family, which like you just expressed. So that's awesome. But now you have the ability to say, well, what do I really want to do? How do I really want to spend my days and nights? So, and that's a challenge, right? I know people are listening. That's not an easy thing to change, right? Change is hard. So, Michael, share some of your sort of thought process and how you got to think through making this very significant change in your life. Like, what were some of the things that you did to help you? Obviously, you mentioned the regret part. You didn't want to regret it, not doing it, right? And pursuing this. But what allowed you to kind of really take the plunge?
For me, I started to apply design thinking and other methodologies, projects outside of work. I started doing stuff with students in a high school in North Philadelphia. My sister was vice principal at the time, and I had supported her for years by bringing the kids into Pfizer, the corporate world, things like that. And we took it to a new level, and it showed me that what I'm doing, I could apply to different areas of life that are important to me. So that was an important seed that was planted. The next one was I had children young. So my kids were now coming out of college and left them like a big old pay raise when their children finish college. It's an expensive endeavor, not just college itself, just paying for their housing and everything else. But I was of the belief that, I don't want my kids coming out really behind the eight ball. I wanted to set them up as best as possible. So I did everything I could to help them do that. So that was now behind me. So then the other piece of the equation was, of course, hitting a milestone at Pfizer that, enabled me not to lose a lot of what I had vested in terms of financial security. And then that's, of course, where you really came in and helped me a ton and helped me see a broader view of my financial picture. I always kind of just, that's not something I want to, that's always, that 401 something is sticking itself and growing. So because, which in hindsight is really frightening. But that piece of the puzzle was an important one. So I had everything I needed. So I was in a position where I could now take a risk because the impact on my family was lower if things didn't go well. The kids are up and running now. So I could take risks. So for others that are trying to do things in life, I guess it's really that question of what's the risk you're trying to take? And is it just on you or is it on your family as well? And what's your faith in what people are? So I mitigated the risks as low as possible. I decided to jump out.
That's great. I mean, obviously it wasn't a small decision. I know, right? Going through that, and to your point, just like anything, whether it's a life decision, a financial decision, I think you hit on there is so key is how do you mitigate risk, right? We often want to take some, we always say, high risk, high reward. Well, I think in a lot of ways, right? If you take the time and effort like you did there, you can mitigate a lot of risk, right?
Yeah.
And you can push that to your side so that you have a high degree of success and confidence because, whether it's financial, and this is where, we chatted about it, and it's, you can try to mitigate all risk. It's impossible, right? For the most part, but you can do a lot, right? You can do a lot.
Look at the careers through just the corporate years. I took a lot of risks there, just within Pfizer to grow my career. And risks that did have an impact on my family. Different positions, different locations within the organization, different demands on my schedule and on my time. See, you're really always facing them. I guess it was a little safer there because I wasn't risking taking away from my family or the food off their table. So those risks were a little safer. But we're always facing risks. And I think that's, for me, what it comes down to with what you do and what I do is it starts with the individual. And, I'm not asking the world to do anything for me, presenting what I'm offering to the world, and hope there's enough people that enjoy it and like it.
Well, that's what I think is where our worlds collide, in the sense that, whether it's design thinking, helping people be more creative, right? Empowering them to be more creative and have confidence to do it, right? That's what you're helping people do, right? And see themselves even more than they may even believe in themselves, right? That they could do it, right? I remember first experienced a lot of this stuff. It's like, oh, I'm not least creative. Like, I'm just an analytical guy. Well, we all have the power, right, to do it with the right tools. Same with our finances. Like, we're empowered to control it and have the freedom and use of it if we are willing to take hold and be open-minded to learning new things around it and experimenting. And in my mind, they're very similar. It's just how our worlds, how we go about doing it are a little different in terms of our industries, but it's all the same in my mind. You're empowering people to dream big and try new things and experiment and create massive amounts of impact that wouldn't exist without it, right?
It's so true. It really is right there. It's empowerment. It's really self-empowerment. The individual has to decide, and I'm empowered by myself. And there's tools out there. So like you talked about, owning your financial world. They can do that. They can absolutely do that. When I look back on my career, just on the finances, and I remember the early meetings, pull me in and say, hey, listen, you're starting your career. You want to stop away and put stuff in your savings because they're going to match it. And I'm like, yeah. But then I'm doing my weekly budgets thinking, well, I also have to pay the electric bill, the gas bill, my mortgage, food, gas. So it's easier in hindsight. But if you can embrace self-empowerment, you can do anything. And in my world, you mentioned creativity. The two words creativity and innovation come up a lot. And it's funny, a lot of people kind of downplay their ability to be creative, which I think is wrong. I think most people are very, very creative. And then in terms of innovative, most people assume they are innovative because they think that's inherently part of the job they do.
Mm-hmm.
And what I find is both are opposite. Most people aren't innovative because what they're doing during the day is usually bureaucratic, dull, necessary work. And to be innovative, you have to break free of that and go off in unknown areas.
Mm-hmm.
Then conversely, they don't think they're creative because, they think of creative is just taking the time to come up with cool ideas. But the reality is when they do, they're very creative. So it's like everything in life. It's usually different from what we think it is.
And just like anything in life too, and I heard this the other day, and it was just like, it stuck with me as life is hard, right?
Oh, damn. It sure is.
Right? And whether it's your finances or starting a business like you did, it's hard, but the good part is a lot of people won't tackle that difficulty, right? If you can have enough empowerment and strength and fortitude to stick with it, that a lot of people won't, right? It's because it takes so much effort and challenges, right? You starting your business wasn't easy, right? You went through a lot of things, a lot of new learning and challenges, right? But
I admitted it and iterated so many times, and then a pandemic hit.
right, that might.
Oh man, what the hell do I do now? And what came out of that? I ended up creating something virtually, and my daughter's a dad. I called it Vimprov, virtual improvisation. I thought, you need to get that trademark. So I never trademarked anything, so I started researching that. And I hooked up with, a good attorney that specializes in that. Went, bam, I have a trademark. It's like, wow, okay.
It's awesome, right? I mean, it's just amazing that So all that was never created before.
Yeah.
Right. This is all sort of the evolution of it, but the challenges you face, and we've talked about some of them, and it's one of those things like that. That book, which I always found great, is called The Obstacle Over the Way by Ryan Holiday. People, if you haven't read it, it's certainly something I highly recommend. It's just a mindset like we're going to face them whether we want to or not. They're going to come, challenges, right? And you can either cower in them, complain about it, or you do what you can do is say, you know what? It's there. Now what do I do about it? How do I face it? How do I get around it? And that's not easy, but with the right mindset, we could do anything, right? Whether it's us individually or get help, which these days I'm more than willing to raise my hand and get help. I'm only good at certain things, and I only know certain things, but that's okay. So where, from a business, right? You talk about improv, like what are some of the big things as you're evolving your business that you're focused on, and what are some of those next big challenges for you?
What I'm focused on immediately is, again, helping people appreciate the innovative mindset and how it's just a wonderful tool in career and in life to empower yourself to do really cool things. And when you can do cool things in life, you're going to have a more rewarding, fulfilling life. It's going to be a lot more fun. And again, there are ways to do that. So what I bring to the table has nothing to do with what people are good at. That's what they have. I'm simply bringing them access to a mindset and access to tools that they can lean on to nurture that mindset. One of the things I learned in corporate is, the two greatest lies of corporate. We don't have money and we don't have time. They have a ton of money and they do have time. They just don't know how to spend it wisely. But I concede that time constraint is real. And what I do is, I try to bring a unique brand of inspiration sessions to people, individuals, teams, and organizations to get them to think differently. Now, what I'm not doing is giving them a deep dive training into methodologies like design thinking. And I equate it to something like skiing or golf, anything you want to do in life. There's a lot of great tools. There's a lot of great resources that can make you better and better, but you have to apply the time and energy. So if you want to learn how to ski and you only have an hour, I can get you through the basics, have an appreciation for the equipment that you need and why, and get you down a bunny hill. If you want to start mastering the mountain, it's going to take more time and energy. Innovation's no different. I can inspire you to want to go down that path, and I can introduce you to some really cool tools that you can start studying with. Or conversely, we can roll up our sleeves and do it together and enjoy it. But it's really that. I'm just trying to inspire people. We're such a negative, nasty, harsh world at times, especially with social media and everything else. The negative stuff sells, man. It's just so easy to sell. So positive stuff really has to come from within. And, you have to fight the battle every day and inspire yourself and believe in yourself and just do what you want to do. Do cool things you want.
Yeah. No, it's so inspiring with that kind of stuff. I mean, it's some people may kind of, think it's kind of hokey. I just think, to your point, the negativity in this world is just so pervasive. And, I almost have to, I've stopped watching news a lot now because of that. And just trying to surround myself around good people and positive people who are trying to do great things like you. It just makes life so much more enjoyable. And, we always preach around abundance, and it isn't just about dollars or what's in your bank account. It's like your abundance in your relationship, in your family life, your health, whatever it is, you gotta be intentional about it. right? Because no one's going to give you that. It's actually so many things that are fighting against that, right? So that's really about, to your point, the empowerment, which is, I think, it's a tremendous word and something that really inspires me. So what, in terms of people who are maybe listening to this, and hopefully it's inspiring them to sort of say, maybe I need to reevaluate things. Any sort of last words of wisdom as they kind of go down their journey here to evaluate their lives, and maybe shifting into, maybe a new path of their life that maybe brings more fulfillment to them? What some last word of wisdom you'd like to leave them with?
And the first question is, as an individual, are you looking for more? Quintessential, are you looking for more in life? And if you're not, if you're happy within the structure of life that you have, then you're fine. Where I'm kind of delving is the more restless souls in the world. And what I can share is truly embrace the journey. We're always rushing to the solution, but the solutions, it's not the fun part. Solving it's the fun part. Reality is, once you solve it, you're on the clock for the next one anyway. Because in the corporate world, if you think you've solved it and you build your organization around that solution, you will eventually get evolved out of the world. The world will change around you, and what was the solution maybe 10 years ago, 20 or even 50 is no longer a solution today. So that's why I always like, what's the true sleep problem? And you should always be looking for the next one and spend some more time and enjoy and revel in that. And appreciate the wins as they come, and keep it all in perspective. And if you're restless, don't beat yourself up over it. Embrace that. It's a good thing to be restless. If we weren't restless, mankind would have probably gone extinct millions of years ago.
Well, that is, amen with that, because there's some joy in the struggle, right? Because you're pushing yourself and you're making yourself better and hopefully more valuable to others in the world, right? We're doing all our unique parts in that, and we're doing it uniquely, which is fun, right? And I could take that art. I embrace who I am, the good, bad, and ugly of it, right? I am who I am. People are listening. You are who you are, and embrace it, because there's talents and gifts there that are just waiting to blow up, right? And you see it. You see it in the business owners you work with, and so it's always inspiring to watch your work. And I know you kind of helped our networking group here locally, which was great, and they really loved it. And so, Michael, best way to reach you is through your website, right? Or contact you. Like, if you want to learn more of 901 Innovation, right, is probably the best.
Yep, 901innovation.com is the website. And, we'll taste the flavor and who I am. The unique brand of workshops, events, and sessions that I bring on innovation, I really like to make them all about whoever it is I'm working with. So I don't come in and say, oh, you have to do this. I really like to understand what they're trying to accomplish. And, I like to customize it to everybody I work with. And, all I can say is, in reflecting back, I truly am having the most fun of my professional years that I've ever had. It's just a blast. And a book you turned me on to, Tom, of course, is Best Get Better. That sits on top of the desk and is a point of reference all the time. And one of the favorite things I love in there is just the entrepreneurial mindset. Life is, get rid of the time clock, get rid of deadlines, and use the more entrepreneurial mindset. And, when you're on, man, you're on. Just keep rolling with it. And when you need to recharge. Life is a lot more fun.
And with that, we'll end this episode because this was fun. I always have fun chatting with you. And, that's something we all need a little bit more fun in our life. And working hard is part of the fun, right? If we can adopt the right mindsets around it. So, Michael, thank you for your time and, and your friendship. And always a pleasure to chat with you. We'll certainly keep in touch and have you back on and see how things progressing down the line for you. But thanks for joining and spending time with me today.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining me on this episode today. I really am grateful for you as listeners to the Perennial Pride podcast. I hope you're getting some tremendous value out of it and hopefully pushing you along your journey to financial freedom. I put this podcast together really to help you get more educated around your finances so that you feel empowered to live the life that you really want. And if you like the content that you heard today or watched, then I would encourage you to go to my website, perennialpride.com. There's tons of other content there. And you can access my book, Wealth Beyond the Numbers. You can buy it there on my website. It's a aggregation of a lot of great tips and tools I've learned to not only build my wealth in my accounts, but build wealth in my life and abundance and joy, and something that has a lot of my experiences in the journey that I've been on personally. Hopefully that can be also of value to you as you sort of move forward. So thanks again for being a Perennial Pride listener, and we'll see you on the next episode.